Are are we live? Yes, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome on back to a Saturday stream. And as you can see, today we're going to be talking Dungeons and Dragons. More specifically, we are going to be building ourselves an encounter. Hello, Darness, Grenstern, Undercooked Trash, Berserker, Seth, Export, Sobe Danny, and Wood Bogus. Glad to see we've got so many people out here because today we're doing something a little special. In quite a few, probably a good 3 or 4 sessions, my party is going to be faced with an adventure that I've been working on building slowly. Something all D&D adventures will eventually encounter one of, so I've wanted to build this out as well as I can, which is why I've invited all you brilliant people here this evening, as today we're going to be working on designing ourselves a heist. And not just any heist, a heist within my world. A heist against a little location known as the Milford Estate. Now then, if we will move everything on over, let us put together our single-digit brain cell. Agreed. Ooh, let's see if this is going to work. Not quite. Ooh, there we go. Ah, there we are. I'm sure we have enough brain cells to reach the double digits. Of course, we have to have at least 10 betwixt all of us. I have absolute faith. Really got the A-team out here? Yes, I knew you guys would be, exactly what I needed. So, just for a quick little rundown on how everything is going to work today, we're going to be going through a few different steps in creating the heist. I'm going to be kind of showing you guys an overview of the world and the environment that the party is going into, why they might engage with this heist, what might be attracting them there, and why everything is set the way it currently is. After that, we will go into a quick, or in-depth, as you desire, breakdown of the history of the Milford Estate. I will be providing you with all the information I've created so far, as well as a couple of chief requirements that the Milford Estate must reach by the end of our design work. Though beyond those requirements, I'll be very open to people's suggestions. After that, we will be discussing the figures within the city, the people that the party might seek out information or assistance from. Whether it's a professional safecracker, or someone with a bit more knowledge on how this city works, or perhaps someone with a bit of experience with architecture and the history of that house that you are trying to break into. We will be creating all of the interesting resources the party will be drawing on within this city for them to create the crew and the plan. And that is what our final steps of today will be, is we will be choosing several possible routes for the party to take. I will be starting off by explaining one route I've already have mentally mapped out. And from there, I would like us to decide on a few more for me to focus some of my design work behind. That does mean in our short time together today, we will likely not complete any maps nor finalize every step of our design work. But there are many weeks before my party will be facing this adventure, so we have time to flush out the details. You are all here to provide me with what you think everything is lacking. Some wrinkles to the job you know are always fun. and to hear my current ideas and point out the simple mistakes I have made. So, how is everybody doing this evening? Are we relaxed and ready to hear about the heist? Or is there anything we're needing to get on out before we begin the design work? I'm just curious how the party will smuggle in perch. Clank, clank, clank. That is definitely something to consider. If there's ever a need for me to bring up the party's abilities, races, or classes when considering design, feel free to ask, because while I have them in mind, I don't expect you all to have all of that memorized. Unless, of course, you ever take a visit to my archive and start listening to the stories that I tell about what the party has been doing so far in the campaign. How wild can some ideas be? So, I will be providing a basic outline of what the estate is like, why it is being used, why it is being robbed, and a bit of the geopolitics of the area it is in. I'm very open to a lot of wild ideas, as long as they fall within the established environment we're going to be working through. Joke's on you, I'll contribute no brain cells, so I'm obviously carrying, of course, Undercooked. Let's make a cult in the basement. Party's been dealing with a lot of cults. We'll see if we have time. I suggested they have a getaway driver ride a Dodge Charger out. Okay. Sour Cake is having a fantastic weekend. Tea's ready, thinking cap on. Let's go. There we are. And so, let us break into Chapter 1, discussing the overview. Now then, as you can see, I have before... Oh, that is wrong. One moment, please. There we go. As you can all see, I have before us the world map and the region that we are currently in. The party is currently within the nation of Tverfia, where you could see the capital, Auten. The party is also located in about this region here, near this large riverway called the Then River, along which you could see a few major features. There's the port city of Botrand, the fortress of Thenchester, and, where we will be looking today, the trade city of Rogluf. Now, the party has not met all the members that will be sending them on this little trip. But, in the coming future, the party will be approached by some figures who have a vested interest in the nation of Aethrone being weakened in their combat with the nation of Tverfia here, and need to weaken them through subterfuge. As such, the party will be hired to go into the city of Rogluf and perform a heist on a building called the Milford Estate. As you've probably gathered by now, the nation of Aethrone is currently at war with the nation of Tverfia. The reason being that, about 500 years ago or so, the nation of Aethrone received a large portion of land here in a series of treaties, which was taken away from this larger region called the Greater Meadows. The four nations that make up it have all been rather bitter about this trade agreement, and the lands that they have lost becoming some of the strongest port cities in the area. As such, Tverfia has officially, about 5 years ago, declared open territorial warfare, claiming that they will be performing a reclamation on the lost lands of the Meadows. Now, this war has been going on for some time, and that will be an interesting point of order here. So, maybe an open roof hole with a magic zappy net? We will see. So, the city of Roglif will eventually be the party's goal, and they will be required to move in stealthily. That is right. This will not be an assault heist. We're looking for a stealth heist. We're looking for encouraging plotting, planning, crew hiring, execution, and, if we have time, maybe a daring escape and chase. So there we are. We have a party who will soon be sent into the city of Roglif to rob a single building of a large quantity of gold. And they will be asked to, of course, bring it back to the person who hired them, though we have very little control about how they get into that. All right, green and yellow are at war. Yep, green and yellow are at war. Their front line is a violent place, and Roglif is a major trading city. Not only that, but a major controller for a lot of the inland areas. I'm thinking about some actual ideas right now. That's good, that's good. So, now that we have a basic overview of what's going on, are there any questions, anything people feel they need to know before we break down into a discussion of the Milford estate, where I will be telling you a bit of a history of the Milford family and why it has become such a tempting target at this moment? I'm thinking a big hole so that Pharaoh might think of floating in. All right. The building will, of course, have windows, but it is a wealthy family's estate. While maybe they might have a garden area, I don't imagine they would have any large holes in their roof. What's the estate's personal history with the war, if there are any? The estate actually has quite a bit of history with the war, though not by its owner's choosing. Let's see. Quick inquiry. How smart is the party on a scale of 1 to 10? No offense to them, of course. Of course not. The party is made up, honestly, a majority of characters who have definitely dumped intelligence. There is one wizard in the party. However, she's a very smart cookie, though did focus dexterity for her particular subclass. The party is, all in all, intelligent and effective, though not prone to plotting and planning, and also have a history of abandoning plans at the first hurdle. They certainly have the capabilities, I would say, but they tend to fall back onto what they do best, which is not normally the more subtle approach. So, stealth won't last long. Stealth won't last long in a traditional stealth roll sense. There might be options that we want to create to make stealth easier. Alternate entrances where they will not actually need to sneak around people, but simply need to find the information and follow a path. Perhaps finding ways to create distractions, or, as it is a large and busy estate, finding ways to be more deceptive can help encourage the stealth, I'd say. Or an inside man. Yes, yes, yes. And so with that, we will now be moving on to what I can report about the Milford estate. Remember, no one can see you if there's no one to see you. The perfect sentence, Crazy Seth. Thank you. So we shouldn't be expecting a competent team of Shadowrunners then. Definitely not at that level, but we will be creating people to assist them in the job as well. So, do not think purely of the party, as they will have a lot of resources available to them. If the point of the planning to help the party rob or to try to keep the party away from theft, we are creating a fun game space for them to play in. We are going to be approaching this from the direction of a DM providing a realistic but fun environment. It will be hard, where it'll be fun for it to be hard, and it will be easy, where it'll be fun to be easy. What kind of drugs does your world have? Many magical drugs, though they tend to be focused in very extreme directions. Let's see. Make a sewer entrance, that'd be stealth without hiding from people. I will be discussing a plan I have, which does involve a bit of tunneling once we get to it. Or we're going to design a good robbery that feels rewarding to succeed in. Or one that feels rewarding to fail in, if we think we can pull that off. I legit just woke up for you, Eric. Well, thank you, Hal Frost. It is time, then, for us to begin the story of the Milford estate. The Milford family resided long ago within the region of the northwestern Greater Meadows. They were not themselves a noble family at their founding, though no families are. What I more mean to say is the Milfords, when they first began creating a name for themselves, were wealthy merchants, influential and with a bit of coin to throw around, but not considered to be included in the groups of nobility, much less royalty, of the Greater Meadows region. Thus, when all other members of the nobility saw travesty with the treaty with Athrone, creating a new region separate from the once great kingdom, the Milfords instead, as their history of great merchants led them, an opportunity. While never truly nobles, their relationship with the people and the other merchants of this region of the Greater Meadows gave them great influence and power that couldn't be questioned even by nobility, though could be reduced without them having the full permissions that such a name would grant them. But as the distant nation of Athrone began shoring up its borders, assigning nobility from their own lands, and rewarding territories to their own military leaders, the Milfords made their play. They displayed themselves as a noble family, showing off their wealth and influence, and helping Athrone in all of its endeavors, though always pushing to make their home of Rogluf the centerpiece of the new Athrone territory. As Athrone was desperate for assisting nobility and influential figures, they did not question the Milfords' push for influence, and granted them a high level of autonomy within the inland regions. The Milfords had good news and bad news with the Athrone takeover. The Athrone were mostly interested in the coastal regions of their new territory, creating a strong trade network and easy connections to their own homelands. The areas of Reichport and Bottrand were thus the ones granted direct control to Athrone nobility, while the majority of the inland regions and much of the northern coastline was left under the influence of the Milfords. With the granting of power, the Milfords decided to push a bit more. They began encouraging a new tax and trade system that majorly used the Then River to trade goods down from Rogluf all the way to Bottrand, out into the bay and across to Athrone. As this fed into one of Athrone's major ports, they allowed Milfords to build up this system, until the point that almost every major inland region sent its tax monies, trade goods, and all manner of reports to the city of Rogluf, making it almost like a secondary capital, only beat out by Bottrand, the port to which everything Rogluf collected was sent. The Milfords, thus, with their growing wealth and influence, decided to show the city of Rogluf how dedicated they were to them, and began the construction of their permanent family home, the Milford estate. Though it began as a small structure, generations of Milfords and generations of growing wealth have allowed them to expand the building and the lands around it greatly. Though it sits in the center of the city, they could never take over entire blocks, but they could create one of the largest single homes that stretched itself up to 3 separate floors. A mansion within a city, an impressive feat that the Milfords were most proud of. Now then, things would take an interesting turn some 100 or so years after their true founding, where the war between Diverfia and Athrone would begin. The Milfords had already set themselves up as a strong, influential figure, and thus used all their influence and money to assist the Aethrones in their creation of the front line. They wanted to protect the River Then as the major trade route, and so helped Aethrone in the funding and creation of one of the greatest fortresses in the region, Thenchester. They of course made sure it was built right along the Then River, and split the distance between Rogluf and Botrind perfectly, meaning that Rogluf only grew in importance as this major holding point of Thenchester ensured everything along the River Then would be under its protection. Of course, the Milfords were still only seen as local influencers. And so, it came as no surprise to the Aethrones, and perhaps only a surprise to the Milford family, when they were approached by the Aethrone military and told that their estate would be needed in order to assist the war effort. They were informed that their land and home would be converted into a central command station, from which the front line would be overseen and resources could be better managed along the front line with Tverfia. The Milfords had painted themselves into a corner, their influence being built now on the back of cooperation with Aethrone. And so, though reluctantly, they openly agreed to the idea and began assisting in new renovations to their estate to help with this change from being a simple home and gathering point of the city's nobility to being a central operation base from which large swaths of resources and coordination, information, and plotting of the military powers would be. During the first year of the war, Aethrone had an easy time of it, and the Milfords felt things were going rather well, and so had no qualms with their estate being semi-shanghaied for the military's use. But as the war stalled out, and Tverfia even began to make new ground, new and more serious renovations were needed for the estate. And so after the past 2 years, aggressive changes have happened to convert the estate into a military headquarters. There were 3 or so major renovations that happened, which we will need to keep in mind as we decide what features the Milford estate needs. The first renovation was the open garden territories and the surrounding buildings around the Milford estate were all seized directly by the Aethrone military and converted into barrackses. New buildings were constructed to serve the military purpose of housing large numbers of guards and troops whenever necessary. Now, while Rogluf is near the front lines, none of the major combat has gone on in this region, so the barracks are mostly used for housing of local guard and station defensive forces. But these barracks are needed to house, feed, and provide full services in case any time a full army needs to be placed in Rogluf for its defense. That was the first renovation. Now the estate holds no open garden area, and the buildings around it, once rich shops and other lavish estates, are instead barrackses, mess halls, and stables meant to service any military forces being housed within the city. The second major renovation came with the placing of a very particular guard force within the city of Rogluf. That being the Contobat Guard, men specialized in the combating, capturing, and defeating of magical soldiers. These men themselves have some magic to them, but instead specialize in the capture, holding, and defeat of wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, and the like. Their position in the city operates both as emergency deployments on everywhere across the front line where magical forces are placed, but they also have a secondary purpose. They operate as capturers and finders of spies, particularly those who have the advantages of magical abilities or disguises. Because of their position in the city and their need to house very dangerous and powerful prisoners, one of the wings of the estate has been converted into a highly specialized holding cell, or series of holding cells. Lavish rooms converted into cells capable of holding those with magical abilities, skilled spies, or anyone that the captain of the Combat Guard believes to be of significant importance. The third and final renovation was one that the Milfords actually encouraged early on during the warfare, which is the creation of the funding office within their estate. The Milfords saw an opportunity here when they were told their house would become the central operation and resource management center for the entire front line, and decided to make their grand push to make their family the most powerful within the region. They made great efforts to encourage all collected tax money and payment to the soldiers that was needed throughout the region of the Greater Meadows would first be collected, transported, accounted, recorded, and then distributed through their estate. This required a couple of expansions, the creation of accounting offices within certain floors of the building to help manage and record all the money that needed to come in, as well as keeping records of where money needed to go to pay for troops and where all the cash was coming from. And as you can imagine, with all that cash needing to come in, be accounted for, and then distributed, this also created the tax vault within the Milford estate. The one location that all tax, trade, and income sources from the entire region of the Northern Meadows has to come to and be collected. Now, this raises a very interesting point about the war. While the Fen River began firmly under Aethron's control, Tverfia has begun to push back, and quite effectively, to the point that the Fen River now marks the border between the territories. As such, there are large segments of the riverway that Tverfian troops are camped on one side of. Due to this change, Roglaf could no longer safely send out rafts or riverboats to distribute soldiers' pay or the taxes needed by the nobility of Aethron down the riverway without risking large sums of money being captured and shanghaied by the enemy forces. This was originally counteracted by the use of overland systems. Many wagon trains, carts, or caravans were used to distribute the pay needed out of Roglaf to the frontline troops that were needed. But since these systems could not move such large amounts of coin, all payment expected to the King of Aethron was allowed to remain in Roglaf until such time as the borders could be resecured. However, the unexpected had happened a few months ago. A sudden spike in banditry within the inland regions of the Greater Meadows has occurred. Led by a group called the Seething Ones, they have attacked and robbed several of these payment carts that had left the city of Roglaf. Due to their free roaming of the inland, with all soldiers being committed to the front lines, Roglaf thus, for the past 2 seasons, could not ship out any payments or gold from the city to the soldiers along the front lines, or to the Kingdom of Athrone. This, of course, means that the amount of tax and trade income within the estate has grown to quite a ludicrous amount. And that is the opening spiel to help explain a bit of the history of the Milford estate, a bit about the family, and the details on why we are interested in robbing it. At this point, on my best estimates, at minimum giving the 2 seasons of accrued money, the Milford estate likely holds within his vault over 10,000 gold pieces, a sum that would make even wealthy men water at the mouth. Now then, I am sorry to have been ignoring chat during that explanation, but it was the bit of the story I have planned out and I'm a bit proud of. So let's take a look at what people are thinking so far. Sounds interesting. What sort of traps? Traps with drugs that either knock out players or make them trip balls. Drug traps sound very interesting. 40 viewers, Pog? Hell yeah. Welcome to our Dungeons & Dragons stream, where today we are building a heist. It would be expensive, though it bring funny moments. Dumb question. In D&D, is a session a year or an actual season? So a session that I do is about 4 hours. Sometimes that can stretch the course of a week within game. Sometimes it's only a few hours, depending on how much combat or how much player-to-player interaction is happening. I find my sessions tend to go 1 to 2 days in game, though some have gone much longer, especially when doing a lot of long-distance traveling. Wait, would Perch be immune to disease? Yes. Perch is immune to disease. He is also immune to poisons, though that doesn't grant him total immunity to drugs. He is able to get drunk, though it is much harder and he has advantage on the saving throws. Simply, he cannot be poisoned to death, though drugs might have a minor effect on him. Dang, imagining being so wealthy, rich people look poor. Yes, exactly. Are there any drugs that degrade a person's mental age temporarily? I feel like it could be interesting to include somehow. I'll keep that in mind. There are definitely, I have drugs that send people back into some of their worst memories, or some of their best memories. Ones that can grant people the ability to cast magic, though, at a serious health cost. Question, will this info be available later on? I can provide answers to any questions you people have, but I don't know if you're meaning you want on-screen information, or if you want me to create a Google Doc to store anything we decide on. Alright, fuck spelling is hard. Damn, Eric, you're really throwing a lot of hooks at us. Eric also just bad at reading, lol. Hey, fuck you. That would be hilarious if Perch was the only sane person in the party. So, all right. Now that we know a bit about the Roglif estate, let's take a quick look at just a open map area I have created and discuss a few of the major features that we want. Right here, I'm going to show you a villa layout that I have used previously in the game. This was held by some lower nobility. It had 2 floors. The bottom floor you can see has an entryway, dining room, kitchen, storehouse, kind of a ballroom, and a study. And this will kind of give an idea of the type of layout I know I'm comfortable building, but I'm also very open to other ideas if people have them coming out. So, the first thing I would like to approach is major outlines of space. This is about as large as I would ever want my overall map to be. Because we'll be working with 3 available floors to the main building, we could of course have other maps to represent other floors. But from wall to wall, even though the building is very large, stretching nearly 300 feet in both directions, this is about the maximum I want to be putting on screen for my players to try and digest. So here we have the outline that I want for the main building. And here you can see I have it lined by smaller structures along the side. These can operate as barracks, mess halls, stables, or other things that the soldiers need. But as you should know now, one of the major renovations that happened to this area of the city was everything around the main estate being converted into systems to help house and feed and provide all the services soldiers need. So, whenever we're thinking about resources we want directly around the estate, keep in mind it will all have to be flavored through what would service the soldiers housed in the city. Now, a few things I will say that I know I want. This is a wealthy family trying to prove that they are nobles. As such, I want to grant them a very grand entrance hall. You know, massive staircase going up, tons of empty space filled with artwork, statues, place for people to talk, discuss, and move around in. But basically, the first floor and maybe the second floor, if we want to give this entry hall some vaulted ceilings, is going to be largely consumed by a major entry hall for the family. Chat is very focused on drugs right now. I got you. So if we can bring our minds back a bit from traps, tricks, and the like, right now, what I need help with is trying to think of everything an estate needs and that would be kept or edited by the soldiers trying to use the estate as their main military headquarters. So, I know I want to start with a major entryway that the Milfords built, but would this be kept by a military office? I believe so to a certain degree. I believe, of course, the statues, artwork, and the like would be moved out of the building. However, a large entering area would be very useful to use as sort of a messenger post, a major area that soldiers are coming and going, delivering information, and where records are being kept. So, all the traditional entryway stuff should be replaced with tables, benches, and make this open hall feel like an ungodly, echoey office space where letters, information is coming in. Both because it's a large space, it's right at the entrance so messengers can come and go easily. Map room. Maybe making use of these large vaulted walls and floors to put up massive frontline maps. I like that. But also, making all of this within the entry space means nobody moves beyond it who isn't officially needed to move beyond it. So, many beds, armories, lots of grain, quick access to the whole building. I believe armory and grain is a good idea, but those would probably be housed in outer areas. Here, this would be like a grain storage would be here right across from it, but probably wouldn't be within the estate itself. Yeah, so any art exhibits like fountain structures would still remain and would stick out amongst a repurposed room. I like that. So we have a large area that feels very office spacey, but with weirdly luxurious fountains. So let's see if we can kind of give this place a bit of that feel right now. So we have kind of this idea. Let's stretch this out a bit. Apologies, I'm not going to be looking at chat for just a quick second as I drag around some pieces to kind of give ourselves a bit of that feel. So here we have, grand marble floors set out in this entranceway. We'll have a large staircase, but then instead of a lot of the normal features, what we're going to see is this works quite well, actually. We're going to see offices, chairs being placed all about. Probably people crammed in a little bit, I would imagine, to make things feel very roughshod and like it wasn't supposed to be this way, but is still working quite effectively. So here we go. We'll cram in some features like this. And then interestingly, what we can do then on this side is right about here, I really like this idea, so we'll go ahead and put it in, is just suddenly smack dab in the middle of a lot of these features. We just have a large, luxurious fountain structure that simply is not purpose served at all, and in fact gets in the way of a lot of movement. I really like this. Armories were actually... Oh shoot, I'm missing some. Let's see here. Armories were actually kept fairly close to the main hall, just a door or two away. So we'll definitely put that, I'd say... So what do you feel about this, then, over here becoming the armory? We make sure it's not part of the major estate, simply for trying to keep things a little separated. But we will... Okay, let's blow this up quite a bit. We'll make the very first building right across from it the armory. That seems nice. What's the party's level, and what level will they be when the heist begins? They're currently level 6, and at maximum when the heist begins, they'll be at level 7. What weapons does the country use? I mean, the country's going to be using a wide variety of weapons. I would say archery and crossbows are fine. Athrony is famed for its heavy cavalry forces. So I think heavily armored knights using single-handed swords or cavalry weapons would make a lot of sense. Though for guard positions, of course, men armed with spears, swords, and traditional weapons will work just as well. If it's a large, rich place, will the soldiers be eating inside or outside? As most of the building, I think, is being used for the treasury, the important citizen or the important prisoner cells, and kind of a lot of housing of the probably generals, captains, more important members. I don't think there'll be a lot of soldiers eating here, but the dining hall and other facilities will be used for higher ranking nobility and for a few members of the Milford family still allowed to use the upper floors for their own home living. Halfrost will be our most trusted ally and understands the military would do things. Probably both undercooked trash depending on what rank they are in the army. I understand modern military. I don't know what 13th century was thinking. Fair enough, y'all. Guess you're right. However, many things can be converted to a fantasy setting. Yeah, definitely to a degree. How many soldiers are there? Give us a ballpark. So direct soldiers within the city, I think for like ready to be like put out onto the field, I would say maybe they're mostly on a defensive unit, so I would say probably 400 infantry, at most 100, but probably closer to 50 heavy cavalry within the city. But then outside of that, probably a larger amount of militia or guard-like troops, men armed more simply. So probably in that number, I would say another 400 or so militia levy-style troops that are mostly being used as military guards within the city itself. And then we have the specialized group called the Cabanat Guard, which I would say they number in total about 200, but probably only have 100 of their number stationed within the city. Can there just be a badass Black Knight? Because, you know, shit is turbo when the motherfucking Black Knight shows up. Well, we could actually have something more interesting, as there will be a lot of information housed within this building, and normal soldiers aren't wanted near some of the more delicate information, records, or large amounts of money. We can certainly have a conversation of animated suits of armor being stationed as guards on certain floors. But, let's hear. What are their armor and weapons like? Do you also have higher grade items, or do they like reserve better quality weapons and armor for frontline soldiers? Definitely a majority of higher quality stuff goes to knights or frontline soldiers, but there are probably 50 knights stationed within the city itself. There is the Cabanat Guard, which, because of their specialized in hunting down wizards and other magic users, they're going to have some serious gear on them, though it is going to be specialized. What that means is the majority of the guards will not be wielding magical equipment, but the heavy knights will have very high quality non-magical equipment between them. Very good suits of armor, high quality weapons, maybe some +1 enchanted weapons, but most of the magical equipment will be placed within the very specialized guard unit of the Cabanat, who do use this location as their personal prison and holding cells for the magically inclined or those they believe to be spies. So then, it seems like we have an agreement upon the front area being used as this sort of entry hall or an area that has been converted into sort of a message place. And I really like that idea. So I'm feeling of keeping kind of this, the first floor front hall is this big open message, supply records, and just area that people are constantly coming in and going out of. What else do we need on the first floor, do you think? How dare she seek this top secret info? Will there be someone high rank and in skill to worry about in the, excuse my spelling, but the Cabanat? There is one particularly skilled captain, but everyone selected for the guard are skilled soldiers. They are a very dangerous guard, which is why they have been selected and specially trained for hunting down those with magical abilities. Maybe in the area past the entrance, we could be a hall full of suits of armor that are actually like warforged or animated suits of armor as a basic security system. I do like having almost immediately after this, kind of whatever the remaining areas are, we would come out into a hallway. There'd be, some doors leading in here or here. Obviously, the stairs are going up to the next floor, but then this hallway here we'll consider the buffer. This is where we have basic military security, preventing uncleared members from moving through the message hall and into the interior. So in here, I like the idea of setting up that collection of autonomous suits of armor. So we'll just say this hall is the buffer hall, and we built around basic, buffering security system. What this means is this shouldn't be an immediate kill floor in any way. This is an area where a messenger or soldier is turned around if they don't have clearance to go further. So having some stationed suits of armor able to react to maybe an order is good. But I think we should also think of something else that exists within the buffer zone. Yeah, it's more of a checkpoint, a room that people know are going to be moving through, but because this is the major hallway on this floor, and we'll think more about what goes behind it. This is more of the buffer zone. Wait, is the party going to rob this location? If so, the estate personnel prepared to get not robbed. Yes, so the estate has been renovated by the military over a series of years, as it is now being used to house things other than the family. Wherever those doors lead, the level below? Okay. A magical barrier that detects intruders, unofficials. It'd be a little tricky, I think, to create a barrier that discerns an official soldier from a non-official. So we might need a person here or something else that helps signify rank and who is allowed to move through and who isn't. Because we do have to keep in mind that likely a soldier bringing emergency information will be brought through to deliver their message directly to a high-ranking official. So this is a buffer zone that is probably more directly guarded. Would you have possibly a member of the group of Cabanat in place to sort of eye people coming in? Now that could work. We could definitely have Covenant located here. I think having the Covenant out in the open entryway, trying to watch for anybody coming in at all, is probably a bit extreme. But we can have Covenant located here. And with them, we can give them some fun pieces of equipment, such as goggles that immediately detect magic, or other things like invisibility. I really like that. Yes. So we're going to have probably 2 to 3 to 4, a small group of Covenant Guard stationed within the buffer zone. Their only job is to be scanning people coming through, checking for identification, but all of them are equipped with magical goggles that will allow them to see invis and to detect magic. This creates a very dangerous buffer zone, especially because they're right near the entrance. If any of them raise an alarm, not only will these stationed suits of armors immediately come to action to prevent further entry, you can imagine a sudden flooding of soldiers coming in to deal with any threats. Oh, yes. The entire Covenant Guard will be able to basically wear these types of goggles, though I think it would be understandable if they occasionally take them off from eyewear, sweating, or just, as all soldiers have, moments of needing a bit of a break. Maybe doors with like some sort of cleanse. If this place is anti-mage, then mana shackles and such is on the table. Just tunnel underneath. Easy, lol. Well, Halfrost, we'll definitely talk about. Will there be underground places? Very well, we will jump ahead a little bit. First, I'd like to, actually before we get to the underground, I'd like to finish the layout of the first floor at least, so we can feel like we've got a lot set up. Why not give the Covenant Guard in place able to, I don't want to say scan, but report some type of security command room. That might be too difficult. So I'm already saying that they'll have goggles that allow them to detect magic and invisibility. Are you suggesting like they have messenger stones that allow them to contact a main location of the Covenant to report something? Because if so, that is also very doable. It does make this buffer zone extremely dangerous, but I think that is fair and fine. If the party knows that this is the location of maximum scrutiny, then they'll know this is somewhere to either avoid or to maximize their planning around. Can attest to needing a break, but that's with a full face gas mask. Fair enough. There is a method of contacting the main group of the Covenant. Yeah, I'll go ahead and make sure maybe only one of them in the room has it, but the people scanning in this room will have at least one sending stone that'll allow them to message anybody at an immediate need. So, I think I'm very open for coming back to this in the future, maybe a future stream, but for now, I like what we have for a buffer zone. A handful of autonomous suits able to be called on by the 4 Covenant Guard here, scanning people for their insignias or any magical items they're bringing in which they shouldn't. Provide them with a sending stone, and they become very dangerous. What are the chances that one of the party members could successfully go through the buffer room in a soldier's disguise? Now, that would come down to what kind of a disguise. Since we're placing the Covenant Guard here, a spell such as Disguise Self or Seeming would be caught almost immediately. But someone wearing a proper uniform, able to state a rank, and to provide proper reason from entry, the Covenant would have no reason to stop them. So a disguise is, in fact, probably one of the easiest ways through the buffer, if that is where you're going. The special Covenant member that has a move speed of 50? Maybe he has some magic boots or something. The buffer should be the most obvious place that they should avoid, So reasonably dangerous is okay. Definitely. And I think I want to add in one feature that the doors into the buffer room from kind of this main hall will always be open. Now, you might think, no, okay, yeah, there people are moving through, of course the doors are open. But the major reason for this is that way if the party ever comes into this message area and they're doing either a scouting mission or they failed to scout, and the first thing they're going to be able to see is, without having to commit themselves to the buffer zone, I want them to be able to see the high security within it and know immediately at a glance that is a problem. Yes, and we can definitely look at some type of seal and all. But we have one more question I want to solve before we move on to our next area. And that is, what else should an estate have on its first floor? We'll, of course, work to convert it to military use after we have it, but on the first floor, what would an estate have? The first thing I'm thinking of course, the kitchen and storage room. This is something placed off to the side, but should be on the first floor as nobody is wanting to carry or start fires anywhere. Well, I suppose fireplaces do exist on second and third floors, but no one's wanting to carry all the supplies up extra floors. So here on the right side, we'll go ahead and put the kitchen, and we will, of course, give it a connecting storage room. Now, as we have a kitchen and storage room, and we are in a 13th century world, that does mean we have to open ourselves up to some unfortunate things. Things that the nobility always included for such rooms. Servant entrances. Ways for the servants to come and go without moving through central areas. So here we will of course have one security threat, though if we place it across from a barracks, it's slightly mitigated, which is a back entrance into the storage room, into the kitchen, and from there, out of course, into a mess hall or dining area. How big we want to make it, I think it should be a very grand dining hall, in fact. Something that nobility is going to be using to show off. So I'm going to have to zoom in to really get a better idea of scale here. What do you guys think a grand dining hall should be? Is 100 feet too much or not enough? Somewhere for people to set up a lot of tables. So let's grab some of these for a scale. Of course, the family would be eating at tables set at the head of the dining hall, with enough space for them to equip themselves and show off. And they would be wanting all the others to be sat at rows of tables. Oh, wrong copy. Now that seems like the right about size for a grand dining hall, don't you think? So we can cut it here, give a little extra space, and that seems good. Though that does leave us a bit of space here. You laugh. I had so much fun running her. The biggest, baddest oak table imaginable. I would say 100 by 70 feet is possible. Okay, well, let's take a look what we have. Currently in here, we have a strong 100 by, if this is, even a bit larger than what you've said. And I think we are good to move things a bit more towards the kitchen. So we'll go ahead and get some of this moved over. And we can redraw this line a bit here. Let's see how much that tightened things up. So it looks like we're working with about 100 by 100 here, which I think is decent. I think that's fine. Oh, yeah, evenly spaced. My apologies. I know that must have been driving some people absolutely mad. So there we go. That should be a little better. So we have the kitchen and the storage for the kitchen. We have the dining hall. But if this is kind of our main buffer and hallway, that leaves us with a couple of very open areas. Now, what to place between the entryway and the dining room? What is something that a very wealthy person, someone showing off to other nobility, would make sure everybody has to walk through before they arrive at the dining hall? Also a place where people leaving the dining hall might go out to sit in. A ballroom. A ballroom could be very interesting, though the amount of space needed for a proper ballroom might not quite work here. Unless, of course, we expand it all the way out. And now we say this entire area constructs sort of a ballroom foyer showing hall. Okay. Okay. No, I think I'm seeing what we want here. So, this area right here will be one room. However, this portion over here will be a showing room. It's right in sight for people who are moving through, but doesn't get in the way of moving to the dining hall. So people moving through have sort of this coat foyer area. And then off to their left is a showing space. There might be bookshelves here, artwork, tapestries, sitting space. This whole area is designed to be moved about with a drink in hand and to show off all the finery, artwork, and what have you. However, the problem with a showroom and foyer is that doesn't serve a military purpose at all. Obviously. So, imagine you're a military force. Now, of course, the only people in here are going to be officers and more professional soldiers. People with specialized reasons to be here, people who are important messengers or leaders of troops. They might enjoy the showroom, of course, but there's also a need to make sure everything is a bit more militant in its fashion and form. The country of Athrone is most famed for its heavy cavalry and strong use of knights. It is one of the most expansionist-based duchies in an area called the Uplands. They started as a small region to the north, but have over time have conquered many other duchies and city-states till they have grown to their current size. They're very proud of their knights, their cavalry, their nobility, and the panache of their culture. If you want a very strong shorthand, the Athroni would most likely represent a dark ages French culture, something near the age of Charlemagne, don't you think? I want my cozy library and reading room up on the top left. Well, I don't think we'll be getting to the top floors today, but they turned the foyer into a latrine, most preposterous. I want to make it a high-class bar area. Okay. So this would be almost then, I wouldn't say bar, but right near the dining and mess area, this might be converted into a meeting hall. They'd keep a lot of the showroom bits and bobs up, replace some pieces with their military, but yes, bring out a few desks and counters, keep a lot of the move-through energy here, but we throw in a few fanciful seats. We line the place with desks, tables. We give the area just sort of a strong feel of a meeting room where people officially come in, the generals discuss and have drinks together. Messengers are made to wait here while the officials are brought to the area to actually talk with them. So this is a foyer and showroom that has been converted into a meeting hall and a place for generals to speak more candidly to each other. That is nice. So then, that leaves us with just one small spot on the first floor. The last little detail we want to get into. This little corner. Honestly, I think that's lame, no offense. Let's see. I honestly feel that the first floor would be civil to fool anyone, and then the second floor would be way more military. All right. That makes sense, especially when you would be passing through the buffer before you get to the meeting hall. Agreed, agreed. So, Howfrost, do you think that's... Are you responding towards something I said or a comment I missed? Do you feel this area being converted into a meeting area is kind of lame? Perhaps I missed something. Let us see. I am very open if people have an idea that they think would be more interesting here. We are on the first floor, and I agree things were probably kept a little more tame here. But what would happen right after the buffer zone and right before the mess hall? I know I have some military people in here, and I don't know if there tends to be much of a separation in that sense within traditional military, but if there's anything I would miss. Who do they need to fool? Everyone knows it's a military base. Like, people will be passing through these places. They don't want them thinking anything other than regal. Of course. I don't think anybody's getting fooled into thinking this isn't a converted... Yes, it is openly known that it is a converted military base. I think the buffer should be at the staircase. That is true. We will need a separate buffer on the second floor, but I think they do need one on the first floor if we're... Or maybe they don't need a buffer on the first floor. That is a good point. If all that's down here is a meeting hall, a dining hall, the kitchen, and the like, there might not be a great need to buffer people moving through this area. So maybe this whole area here needs to be moved to the second floor. This allows us to kind of expand out the mess hall, the kitchen, the storage area to take over more space. Buffer staircase or something? Yeah, I don't think on the staircase itself, but definitely moving the buffer up to the second floor and allowing the entire first floor to be more of a space people move around through probably makes a lot more sense. So, that is definitely something I will keep in mind. I do hope I'm making it clear. I'm actually very appreciative of you guys kind of coming in and giving me all this info to work off of. While I've created a lot of the history, the setup, and why this estate is doing what it is and what I want the party to be moving into, when it comes to layout and design, I know I'm always overlooking something. You do probably want some buffer for people on the first floor to make sure people don't easily slip in with any servants or the like. Okay, that is fair. So we'll make sure we leave the buffer on the first floor, and maybe later on we'll work on creating a buffer for the second floor. But I think for now, I personally really like what we have going on. We do have one more room to look into. Thinking more like the bottom of the staircase before you walk up the stairs, they could check your clearance and allow you to proceed. Minor magic security at the door. Definitely, I think we'll have a lot of magical security on the second floor. The second floor is the one that has been predominantly converted into holding cells for wizards and magically inclined people. So I think that is where we'll have a lot of the heaviest magical security. Though I think the first floor will be more mundane, and the third floor will be heavy security with some sort of a leaning in magic. But the second floor is the one where all of the magical security will be focused. If this is a proper mansion built by a hugely wealthy medieval noble family, there are likely some smaller hallways dedicated to servants to keep them out of sight. Exactly. Which is a bit of why I have kind of this entrance into the storage room and then into the kitchen to be sort of a servant's hall. But I do know that there would be a need for them to move to other floors, which we could plot maybe some servant hallways actually using up the backspace here if we want to move things a little forward. That would allow the servants to move in, around, and into this space. Though there is obviously no need for servants to ever go into the main front entrance unless they're house servants. Hmm. Ah, yes. There's almost certainly more private family dining rooms somewhere. Yes, though I think the private dining will be up on the first floor. Oh, what did Crazy Seth say? I was thinking more like at the bottom of the stairs. Okay, okay. Private mess for the military top officials. Okay. Military. Oh, medieval elevators. I believe you mean dumbwaiters, which is something we can definitely throw in. A way for servants to move large amounts or small amounts of food up multiple floors without needing them to go out into the stairways. I've already used dumbwaiters in a noble's house once. That'll seem fine. So, I think we're almost done with the first floor, in a sense. There's definitely a lot for me to think about, making sure there are servant hallways to take up space. There's some to think about maybe doing something a bit more interesting with this area instead of turning it into a meeting hall, finding a better purpose for it. People are food now? Okay, always have been. But the final feature I want here is something I believe nobility would, of course, have right nearby the dining hall. Well, I believe some sort of smoking and drinking room could be nice. Perhaps this is where we actually put the dance hall or ballroom. So we could definitely do a ballroom or a smoking room, something chiefly meant for entertainment, a way to move people out of the dining room and into an area that isn't about showing off, but about actually performing an action. So here we will definitely be placing. You could it be a person in one of those? Yeah, you can definitely move people through dumbwaiters. What if instead of a meeting area, it's a meet and greet area? I've seen that in a lot of games and actual castles. All right, all right. So like a fanciful meet and greet before the mess hall. Interesting. Okay. The cabana could be a special rec room. Okay. Hmm. Yes, exactly. So this would be an area for everybody to sort of meet, greet, show off. There might be some drinks available here, but this is an area kind of more meant for official gathering. So maybe then actually I want to change things. Well, you know what actually happened here, and I think I love it. Is the dining hall tables were moved into the foyer, into this area that was meant for showing off. This open hallway that wasn't being used properly, that had a bunch of random crap stacked over here. The tables were moved out to create a more functional, long mess hall. Somewhere for soldiers, workers, servants, everybody that is needed to eat. And then the actual dining hall was converted into the meet and greet space. This is where they have easy access to the kitchen for alcohol. They'll have a few tables, but mostly have moved a lot of the lounge and dining chairs in here. This is now an open space for generals' officers to gather and eat as their private mess, and not have to eat out with any of the soldiers or servants working within the estate. I really like this for two reasons. One, it makes more sense. After the buffer, you go into the mess hall, another low security area that will be constantly populated with soldiers, and gives an extra separation from the special mess hall, the area where officers are, and because it would have easy access to the ball and smoking room, this would be where they store their alcohol, where they store their fanciful bits and bobs. So you have to get through the rambunctious soldiers to get to the good spots. Damn, that's actually a good point. You definitely don't want the rambunctious soldiers moving through you to get to where they need to go. All right, all right, all right, all right. No, 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 that is a very good point. Let's see here. We'll move all this back into the dining hall. The dining hall is still the mess hall. Boom. The ballroom and smoking room thus gets converted into the meeting and private dining area for the officers. So the officers are able to take a different route to their own dining room, where the rambunctious soldiers go this way. Thus, this is an area soldiers and officers are going through and separating. I still feel like we don't have a good purpose for this room or this space, but that I think is fine for now. We'll simply have to come back and think about it later, because I feel like we have filled out the space to a strong degree of how the estate was laid out, and now we just need to let ourselves get into the mindset of the military to know what we want to do with this silly, useless spot. One option is, of course, we can now just move the buffer space to occupy here and allow the entry hall to expand even further, though I don't know if that's getting a bit ridiculous. Still, I feel like I like this a bit better already. So, I just want to take 2 minutes now. If anybody has any ideas of how best to fill kind of this space in between the entrance, the buffer, and the two different specialized mess halls, what would be the best thing that separates them? Is there anything that usually separates in a military station, kind of how you enter and how you get to the mess halls or to the officer mess? I would think it would be ridiculous. Can you remind me what the front area was again? So the front area was initially like a grand entrance for the family to show off in, and it's already about 80 feet long. It has now been converted into sort of a messenger and information center for the space. This is where messengers come in, deliver things quickly, and go out. You know, so this is where soldiers and officers come through and separate. So this, I think, could operate as a secondary office space. This is where direct messages might come to. If someone is looking for someone, they might go. An assembly room works, though I don't know what the features of an assembly room could be. Still, I kind of like swapping the buffer zone, what the other area could give, and opt to get into the officials and be like, what? Your pass isn't going through. This is my main. Pharaoh, I got her. She's cool. Trust me. Okay. Yeah. So I like that. I'm going to need just a little bit of color here, I think. But we'll say we're going to now move the buffer zone into this room. I think that works the best, is having this now used as the buffer. That does give us a bit of a hallway space, but I do, now that someone has mentioned it, I do think this could be a very interesting muster space, or if not a muster space, instead, kind of a emergency storage or a quick storage, meaning that they have some weapons, armor, maybe buckets for when they have to deal with fires and the like. But basically, this area has been converted into an open storage, or what is a muster space? I guess a space where they would gather up different troops into. I know traditionally you want to muster in a much more open area, but I'm really just trying to push for a use for this area. Weapons and armor out in the open to the public. No, because they would have to move through the entrance first to get into here. This is so close to the entrance. This being a place where soldiers can leave equipment that they're not taking into the mess could work. But yes, it could very easily backfire. Inspection, preparation for battle, the unsecure entrance. Yeah, I know. Okay. So, between the entrance. So this is an open space. Nothing needing security should be here. Gosh, difficult. Difficult, difficult, difficult. I get that you mean it's a muster space, but typically it's a room hallway up to the side attached, usually to the main hall. Well, this would be attached to the main hall, but it definitely is directly connected to the main entrance hall. There would also be rooms in such a manner with vaulted ceilings, which might cut into the upper floors. True, true. Gods. Gods, there has to be some... So wait, so this is a meeting room. So this is the hallway. This is the hallway that separates kind of the entrance hall from here. So first things first, I think what we can do is we tighten this up. We tighten it up and we allow this to instead encompass this much space. It makes sort of this buffer area very big, but allows us to deal with less space here if we need to. Well, maybe this room could have an open ceiling to the second floor so that news would instantly be heard from the second floor. Patrols? Or this is a converted mansion, not a purpose-built fortress. It's not going to be optimized as a defensive building. That is true. But I do want to try and figure out a really good use just for this spot. I feel like I'm on the precipice of something. I feel like we're very close. It could just be a place where supplies are put before they are sorted, such as food, weapons, ammo, and other. All right. So just sort of a place where things are dropped off and then moved off to where they need to. So definitely an unsecure area here. I think I'm going to keep the idea as a type of storage, though definitely be careful with what is stored here. I'd say, yeah, we can definitely do food. We can do uniforms, things that aren't thought to be of desperate importance. We'll probably store weapons and armor somewhere else because it does seem a bit ridiculous to have it stored in the place before the security measures. But I think stuff that is a bit more fine to leave out in the open a bit is what we'll do here. So this will be a repurposed kind of storage space for low security items. And I like it. I think, while it is a bit of a mess to read, we've done a grand job creating a simple layout for the first floor. Grand hallways are a thing, yeah, but between the entrance and much of the rest of the mansion. Can you actually see the red on green writing, or is that my color blindness kicking in? That might be your color blindness. I'd say it is a little difficult, but I can definitely, well, I can't read it. My handwriting is absolutely garbage with a mouse, but I can definitely see it and make it out and know a bit of what's happening here. But I believe we've spent a bit of time And it also might be coming through a bit differently over stream. You guys are also not looking at like a full screen image like I am. It's definitely the bad handwriting. Crazy Seth has a point. But you guys are also probably dealing with 75% of the size that I'm dealing with right now. So that is most certainly not helping. All right. However, I think we have spent quite a lot of time building out the first floor of the estate, and you all have done a fantastic job helping me with a lot of these little bits and pieces. Honestly, I don't think I could have figured out a layout this quickly, or felt as comfortable with some of the choices without a lot of the info coming in from you guys. And I do hope, in spite of my absolute garbage handwriting, that you're having a bit of fun with watching me kind of lay something out and throw on a few of the bits and pieces onto roll 20 that I'm using here. So, this seems like a good halfway point for me to take just a bit of a breather and ask everybody, how are you all doing? How's everybody feeling? How do you feel about what we've built so far? How do you feel about being involved in designing the first floor of the Milford estate with me? And do you guys enjoy kind of how I'm formatting this kind of encounter building session? I was really excited to finally do one where I got to plan things a little ahead of time and just didn't have it suddenly sprung on me. This is really enjoyable, and I do like seeing this being fleshed out. Nice. I'm having fun. I've never seen something like this, lol. I use dry erase mat. Hell yeah. No, growing up, I was fucking grid paper, is mostly what I used. Building layout is not my strong suit. I get you, Narc. This is fun, yeah. It's fun. Good thing it's good. This is pretty good. The encounter building is super fun. I'm enjoying the stream. I'd love to hear your party's reactions to this whole thing once they actually clear it. Hell yeah. There we go. So now we're moving on to whoa. The next little thing we're going to discuss some of, which is the crew. And by that, I don't mean the party or my players so much, as I mean the people in the city that will be able to be recruited to help, or that might be working directly against the party. I'm going to tell you guys about a few of the characters I know I'm going to put in the city to help the party along certain routes or to provide information they might need. And what I want from you all is either to throw out some of your favorite heist cliche characters, the classic ones that no heist is complete without, or when you're hearing some of the characters or the outline of characters I'm presenting to you, bringing up problems with them or ideas you think that would better expand them. It's really interesting to watch your train of thought, and educational too. Hell yeah. Oh my god, don't mention grid paper to me. I still use it to this day. Hell yeah. The drug addicted, thrill seeking safecracker. Hell yeah. Well, actually, if I may start with some of the specific allies. As you can imagine, the reason the party might be coming into... Oh shit, we got a tardy change. Can you do one in the gangster tardigrade voice? Alright, we'll be changing things up a little bit then, eh? See if I can get things set up quite right. There we go. What about the generic bartender that always knows a bit more than he should? Or go the complete opposite way and have a bartender who's been paid off to passively collect information just by listening to people's conversations. Tardy change, hell yeah. And I was also requested to do a bit of a voice. And you know what? I think the tardy grandfather will be great for introducing some of the characters I already have written up. So calm down, folks, calm down. I got a few people I want to introduce you to before you start trying to introduce me to your friends. Coming into this city, the party is going to be actually hired by a member of the Tverfi military. Why else would they be trying to hit up the estate holding all the money for Athrone, of course? So you see, The first two characters we're going to be talking about are going to be their contacts in the city. Though they're only going to go by some nicknames for now, if you catch my drift. These two are called the Starling and the Kookaburra. Interesting point of order. The Starling and the Kookaburra are a pair of spies sent in by a man from the Verfia named Stoneway. He's a general, but not important right now. Instead, I'll tell you a bit about him. Most interestingly, the two are actually brother and sister, a pair of elves who grew up in Verfia and are very eager to get involved in the military force to help them kick Athrone off their plot of land. Now, of course, even though brother and sister are both interested in deception and spying, they got a couple of different sets of skills. The brother is known as the Kookaburra. You wanna know why? Because he makes a lot of noise and he fits into any nest he encounters. The brother is a very deceptive and charismatic man. He makes friends with just about everybody and knows everybody. Because of this, he comes into the city as a performer, normally a bard or something of the like, and makes friends with all the nobility or lower military, whoever's out at the bars, really. That makes him a very good contact and is the main reason he's still out and about in the city. Military just see him as a showboaty type of fella, making tons of friends. But no one wants to arrest a man on suspicion if he's their best friend. His sister, however, is a bit more of a sneaky fella. You see, she specializes in more direct subterfuge, getting into places, finding traitors, and getting information out of them. She's the real spy of the two of them, really. The Starling. She's good at, well, everything you need your spy to be good at, though not so great at the interpersonal stuff. Unfortunately, by the time the party gets into the city, as you can imagine, the cabinet, they've already snatched her and got her off in a prison somewhere. However, they only got her on low suspicion. They don't think she's actually a spy or nothing, but found her in places she shouldn't be. So, she's gonna be the most informed of the two contacts. This is beautiful. I donate $20 in your honor, Plenty. Hey! No problem. Everybody thank him for him. Hey. So, the Starling is in a jail cell somewhere, but she has been the one spying for the past month within Rogluf. She knows who's not so happy about their stations here. She knows who knows everything in the city. And she could point you in whatever direction you need. But first, you gotta find her and make the deal with her. Luckily for the party, she's very dedicated to Verfia. So if they come in and tell her, hey, we're doing this job for Verfia, stealing the payment, so that way Athroni troops don't get their money, and instead, we do. Halfrost, thank you, my man, for donating $200? That's crazy, dude. I guess I should be doing that more often, huh? Oh, I think I fat fingered that. Oh no, what happened? I'm sorry. Did you mean to do $20? Frost, let me know what you meant to do. And later on, we can figure out a way to fix it if that was over the top. Just private message me after the stream and we'll figure it out then, alright? Fuck. Thanks for letting me know that was a fat finger right now, though. Okay. No problem. We'll figure that out later. So, Eric, send it. I made my choice. So, the party, if they go up to the Starling and tell her that they're here doing this to get money out of Athroni hands and into the Verfia, she'll provide them with all the info they need. She'll tell her where the estate is, how long it's been used, what floor has the money on it, and a few of the important people in the city that can help them. Who does she know? Well, first of all, she knows the Whig. Who's the Whig? He's a tax collector for Athrone. Also part-times as a judge, though, as you can imagine, a man that's a judge and works with money, he's always willing to take a bribe or two to look the other way. He knows everything about the money system, how the tax money comes in, how it gets sorted, where the records are kept, and knows every detail. And as the man he is, he's always willing to sell that info for money. Therefore, the wig can be a valuable resource as long as the party's willing to bribe him in the right way. Now, he won't be putting his skin on the line for anything, but he will always be excited to share a little info for money. Next person she can tell them about is the Beetle. In the city, the Beetle is known to be a professional tunneler and wall breaker. Not much else is known about them, but if the party can track the Beetle down at one of their spots, they might open up a few unknown routes into the building or out, depending on their needs. Though the Beetle isn't massively known for their subtlety, only their ability. Next up, the Second. The reason this person's called the Second, I'll tell you about it later. For now, all you need to know is she is a smart cookie, a historian who specializes in architecture. That's right, she's been studying the building layouts, the zoning codes, every detail you'd ever want to know about how the city of Rogluf is built. And just recently, she fell into a pet project of researching the Milford estate. She knows every renovation that's gone on in that place. Not only that, she knows which family member did it. If you want to know where some of those secret entrances, past renovations, or things the military might not even know about how the place was built, you're going to want to talk to the Second. And that's everything that the Starling can tell them. The Cuckoo, however, has got a few extra bits and bobs on his side. Well, he doesn't know all the corrupt officials or some of those underground fellas. He does know a bit. However, he's a bit less patriotic than his sister. The only thing he wants in exchange for his help, whether it be him talking his way into the building or telling the party who might help them, is he wants to guarantee the party will break his sister out of prison. But of course, a prison break in the city before the heist is going to raise security like nobody's business. And trying to break her out after, well, that's another heist in and of itself. Whether the party is willing then to go the whole nine, or to simply lie to the poor boy about getting his sister out of prison, is up to them. But it'll be required before he decides to sign up with them. And with them, they gain a valuable actor and performer. But not only that, but they can learn some information about some of the underground people. He's made a lot of friends in the bars, the most important of them. There's a man named Whiskey, professional safecracker, lock breaker, and clever man at getting into places that he isn't supposed to be. If the party's looking to get into things a bit sneakier or crack the vault without problems, they'll want to ask about Whiskey. He's not from Tverfia originally and has only lived here a few years. But only Cuckoo can find him. And if the party tries to approach a man without a proper introduction and asks him if he knows how to crack a safe, Whiskey's like as anything else to go underground, afraid about these people asking about his business. So there we have a few of the figures. The corrupt wig, the tunneling beetle, the Second who knows everything, Whiskey who knows how to crack a safe, Cuckoo, a good actor who can help, and his sister Starling, a professional spy, though currently imprisoned. Can I do a danger to ruin this heist? You definitely can, though I would recommend saving it for a different portion. Finally, then, we gotta talk about a few not-so-helpful figures. Adversary crew members, essentially. The first I want to talk about is the captain of the cornerback guard. Let's see, he's a man named Bowden Tellus. This man has been a soldier his entire life, Not only that, he's a very skilled soldier and has spent the past 10 years studying how best to capture and find both magic users and spies. This is a man the party never wants to encounter, as subterfuge and magic are his bread and butter to undo. Other figures to keep in mind are the mayor of the city. He is a man who has some strong connections to the Milford family and always listens to them, but is technically separate. He's actually was put into place by Athrone themselves, and though is always looking to make a name for himself. He will not allow anything to go wrong in his city. But he's also hesitant to call on outside help to prevent it. After all, that might just embarrass him. And the final characters to keep in mind are the defensive and guard generals within the city. These two are a bit adversarial to each other, as they both keep stepping on each other's toes and are more than happy to embarrass one or the other. They each have their own desires, but at the end of the day, they're keeping the city straight. So, if the party could find out a good way to properly set these two against each other, they might remove some direct defenses, though it's a risky play to make yourself known to your adversaries, unless you're totally prepared to handle the fallout. The city will also, of course, house a small rebel faction, masters of the guild willing to put on a rebellious riot if the party is willing to help them out with their own details. There's some men down at the docks that might know some secrets about how they plan to get the money out of the city. But for now, what I told you is all I got planned. All the people you know in the city. And now's your turn, folks. How about you tell me a bit about your friends and how they can help a crew try to break into the Milford estate? I'm so sorry, I gotta break character now, but there you go. Those are a lot of the major players I have placed in the city, or minor crew members I have placed in the city, that the party might be able to find, recruit, and try to get them to help break in. There's the knowledgeable, there's the functional, and there's the bribable out there. I do have a few other features I want to use, some characters in certain places, but for now, these are the most fleshed out ones that I feel ready to use. So, now comes my question to you all. What other major crew members should the party be able to find within the city? What are they willing to trade for their help, and what specialized help can they offer? Or, if you so prefer, which of these characters do you think needs a little something extra to them? What about, like, a brothel that could be bribed to distract the guards, a la Assassin's Creed style? Could definitely distract a portion of the guards, but I doubt they would be able to gain full access to pull everyone out of the estate. There might be some offers that could help get most of the people in there drunk or distracted, especially if the party can bribe them into providing free services in one of the nearby buildings. If nothing else, it might make one of the large barracks nearby fully distracted. An old butler who's been treated poorly and would want to stick it to the Milford estate as a whole. Interesting. Blow up Bobby, a corrupt soldier who doesn't want to even be in the city in the first place. Thrill-seeking safecracker's always a good crazier the better. Gotta go for now. Take care. Oh, bye, Oxy. I hope you had fun and have a chance to come back at a later stream. I just like maybe 2 IR3 guards. Hell yeah, Halfrost. That's definitely something. So, I like the idea of a brothel. I was in fact already thinking of a brothel owner to include for them to get some info from. But if we're wanting to increase this, their name would be Sweets. And they run, of course, a brothel named Sweets. So why would Sweets be interested in helping the party? Bribery is, of course, an option, though. I would like something a little more personal if they're going to put themselves in harm's way with the guard should anything go wrong. Sweets is a local of Rogluf. They've lived here all their life and have worked their way up to owning one of the most fanciful brothels in the city. Are the soldiers bad for business, or is business being seized by the military? Why do they want to stick it, either to the Milfords or the Eight Thrones as a whole? Any ideas? A distant relative who got pushed out of the family. Ooh, a distant Milford is an interesting option. I do like that. One option I can put out for why Sweets is very angry with the military is the Cabinet Guard have been going around and seizing anyone they suspect to be spies or magically inclined threats to the city. So maybe a guard killed one of the girls and they're being mistreated in general, or maybe one of the girls that worked for Sweets was either a sorcerer or something of the like, and upon being found to be using magic in the streets, was brought in for questioning and never left the estate. Sweets is of course willing to provide a distraction, but they need to know what happened to this girl. And if she's still in there, the party better promise to bring her out, or else Sweets will report the whole thing. Okay. What do you guys think? How common is it? Magic is not super common within the area, though it's not like a crime on its own. It's simply the Cabinet's Guard is very zealous in their work, and so will bring in almost anybody with magical abilities to be questioned to ensure that they are loyal to a throne, or if they are suspected as spies or the like, as their entire job is to deal with magical threats. Ooh, some of Sweet's girls have disappeared as of late after reported interaction with the guard. Sweets wants to know what the fuck is happening to the girls because the brothel is only a ruse. She's actually running a home to get girls back on their feet with her ladies going missing. She wants info. She's willing to help, but only if you help her find out what has happened to her girls and put a stop to it. So, do you think what is happening should be separate from the estate or connected to it? Perhaps it's the Cabinet Guard, or perhaps it's something entirely different, and is simply a side mission to pull off that will get Sweets on their side. Dynamite delusional Daniel. Undercooked, I have seen you. I've seen you that bombs. Like I said, though, Undercooked, Beetle is a professional tunneler and breaker of walls or doorways. Beetle lacks subtlety, but always gets the job done. Don't worry. I did not forget a demolitionist expert. There definitely should be a conflict between the recruits that they can recruit so they can't recruit everyone. All right. I'm thinking more so than a conflict between the recruits, the party's only going to have 2 or 3 days to get everything into place. And if a lot of the recruits have jobs like Sweets, where they need to go out and find something before they will help, then the party will be limited to figuring out who they can recruit. I don't want to put any hard limits like, oh, these two refuse to work together on the party, but I definitely think giving them a time restraint and having a lot of the people they want to recruit require them to do something will help create that kind of sense of we can't get everybody, but we can get who we want to get. I feel it'd be connected. It gives her a reason to go against the guards, but you're the DM. Hell yeah, Halfrost. So I really like that. So we're now adding in Sweets, the brothel owner. Girls have been going missing, and it's always been after interactions with certain guards. There has to be some record somewhere, and Sweets will only help the party if they can tell what is happening to the girls. All right. We've got an extra member, a helping brothel owner who can either provide distractions or other assistance where possible. After all, if the spies are ever brought in by guards who don't care much about the security measures, they might have a better understanding of some of the layout than anybody else. An insane mage who is highly intelligent but still very insane, specializes in teleportation or something like that. Maybe the mage is locked up. All right. I like this, though I want this to be a almost unexpected possible crew member. The mage, already imprisoned on the second floor by the Cantabat guard. Within their prison cell, there's not a lot they're able to do, but maybe getting a message out. Or if the party comes across them, they'd be willing to offer some assistance in exchange for their help. The mage, I like. Having someone you can break out on your way through the building who will then help you at a halfway point is really good. But I also think, and I believe you all will agree, the mage is very self-focused. And while they are willing to give you some help, maximum security mage, I could transport the other prisoners out if you free them. Yeah, it's definitely could, though I imagine a character who is just as likely to simply cast Fireball and then fuck off themselves. What do you guys think? A mage imprisoned by the Cantabat. Very powerful, but a little daft at this point. Willing to help, though, if they're not reined in correctly, they're going to be very self-interested. A practical unknown, hell yeah. There is a staircase that leads up to the second floor, and there will be a staircase up to the third, though it won't be the grand staircase that we see in the main entrance hall here. So I think that's fine. And so the party has to convince him that he should help. Hell yeah. About 2 prisoners, each with their own flaws. Hell yeah. A loose cannon that can help or hinder the party? Exactly. So we're adding in Sweets, who has a job, and the mage, who's an unknown. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I love it. I love it, you guys. So the mage and the Sweet. Boom. Boom, baby. Just fireball with bombs. I know, Undercooked. Bombs. I've got you. I like the mage. Definitely a risky choice, but to get to and whether or not to save, but potentially very high payout. They're convinced to help. Nothing better than a wild card. All right, guys. All right. Well, we are really scraping up against time here. However, we have one more thing I just wanted to talk about, which is the plan, or rather, one of the possible plans. I think next weekend I'd be really excited to do this again with you all if you're all still interested in helping me build out this session. I'll put up a poll at the end so we can discuss, but for now, I want to tell you guys about one of my routes into the Milford estate, one I've already planned and I hope will inspire all of you to come out with new ideas, either at the end of the session or the next time we do one of these planning sessions. Now, because I'll be going into a lot of detail of one of my available routes, party members, I know you're out there. This would probably be the best time to plug your ears or find something else to watch. Unless you really want to hear it. I am proud of this little creation, though. It's always more fun to find things out in-game. Are they gone? Are we free to talk? Well, then, here we go. The first element that'll be needed for this particular route to go into effect is the recruit of the second. The second is a woman named Elena. She is a professor that works at a local museum and library structure. She is very knowledgeable about the history of Rogloff and specializes in architectural matters. She knows how the entire city was built, what areas were built in what years, why certain areas are zoned as they are, the names of every architect who have ever worked within the city, and as of recently, has become very fascinated with the Milford estate and how it was built over time. However, she does not know everything about the Milford estate. After all, while she is a researcher and a dedicated one, not all documents and blueprints are open to public research and study. So, in order for her to more properly help the party, she will need them to either get her access or get her the documents within a special record-keeping building. If the party is able to provide her with the records, well done. Elena will have a very interesting story to tell them about one of the older Milford family members. A man called Arcabian Milford, who was actually not raised within the Greater Meadows. Arcabian was the third son of the family, and so was not set to inherit anything within the family's name. Instead, he was sent off to a distant land called Pulemont, and while there, Arcabian developed a fascination and love for a particular type of building that the Pulemonti were so interested in, known as the public bathhouse. Arcabian fell in love with these buildings, the relaxation, the hot water, the way to discuss and relax with other people. It was his greatest treasure being raised in Pulemont. However, Arcabian found himself in a very strange position one day. He learned that his two older brothers had both died. One involved in a military action to the far east, the other simply falling ill and having died of natural causes. Arcabian was then called back to Rogloff to become the master of the Milford name. Arriving in the city with no sewer system, no hot water provided, and without a single bathhouse anywhere, Arcabian started on the family's most daring renovation ever. Arcabian ordered every architect within the city and several miners into his home and began the construction of an underground bathhouse beneath the estate. A large underground bathhouse was thus dug out for him over the course of several months. Now, of course, with such a building, two things have to be considered. How is water brought in enough to fill such an area, and how is the dirty water sent outward? Rogloff, after all, does not have a sewer system here. Everything on the ground is simply dirt. So, Rogloff had to make a drainage field himself. And he had to find a way to provide a large quantity of water to his bathhouse. Based on these records, I think we can find that underground he has created a large series of tunnels and drainage fields for his own bathhouse. In fact, after his construction of the bathhouse, every noble within the city had fallen in love with the structure. Thus began an explosion of bathhouses throughout the city. At the time that he started his, there were none, and to this day there are over 10 different bathhouses within the city. However, all of them were built under the advisory of Arcabian Milford. There is not a bathhouse within the city that was not built to his exact specifications. Which means, if we can get into one of those bathhouses and look at how they drain the water, what systems they use, and how they were built, we will know exactly the same structure Arcabian used for the bathhouse beneath his own estate. But that is not the only thing the party can find. If the party is so willing to put in the extra effort, they may also provide the second with records of the wells nearby the Milford estate. After all, if there's a lot of underground digging and water draining going on, if you look at the history of nearby wells, they'll come across a very interesting discussion. Yes, the records were very vague in many ways, and I did not think I could find an actual hint what we were looking for, except for here. You see this well dug here in the middle of the square, not 2 blocks away from the Milford estate. I found a record of an event at the exact same time that Arcabian was having his bathhouse created. You see, a record comes in that this well, at around the same month that the bathhouse was expected to be completed, ran into some trouble. Specifically, the water within it became corrupted and poisonous. The records of the time speak of it being filled with strange oils and suds that made those who drank from the well noxious and sick. Now, normally I would have skipped over this record, except that the Milford family themselves paid directly for the renovation of the well. The records I have found showed that the Milford family paid out of their own pocket, stating that they wished to do something for the community and send their own builders into the well to fix it. No official records exist of what renovations they did, except that the well was apparently reinforced, expanded in certain directions, and closed off in others, and that after this, given a month to replenish, the well was no longer tainted with this strange, sudsy poison. The Milfords were thanked for their generosity to the city, but I suspect this well was drawing in runoff from the Milford family's bathhouse drainage field. And that if we can find out where they put up reinforcements and where the bathwater was draining from, we might have found our way to more quickly tunnel into the Milford's secret underground bathhouse. Now, the ground there will of course be extremely wet, and it will be dangerous to overuse any tunnel we may or may not create, but I trust the beetle will be able to do this job for us. Given enough time to dig it out, we might have our way into the basement floor of the Milford estate. Or, if we wish to save it, our way out. And that right there is the one plan I have set up. The Milfords will have a bathhouse underneath their estate, built by a very eccentric member of the family, that will have a karst system connecting it to a nearby well. Well, that had previously connected it to a nearby well. They had, of course, plugged the gap to make sure nobody would ever find out. But if the party hires the beetle, and the beetle can provide the necessary force to the wall to create a hole, they should have an unstable but open path into or out of the home with a distant well. The players never ever gonna find that the baths exist, are they? Probably not, but I was super proud of that creation. There's already been a bathhouse scene in this campaign, and my party has requested there to be 100 more, so I don't mind. The Kookaburra might know. Does the party have access to water breathing? There is a member of the party, Perch, who doesn't need to breathe. And there is a wizard who, if they spend the time in a library, might be able to get such a spell under their belt. Should be achievable. Yes, but how many members can breathe? I wonder how The out of the place fountain gets its water. That is an interesting thing to consider. But that is the only planned route I have so far. So here is the most exciting part of today's stream. I want you all to help me invent a second route, a second path that the party could go down. One that's not going to involve tunneling or the bathhouse or the secret renovations of a crazy Archeban Milford. Boom? Okay, we're already using the beetle to boom the tunnel. If you really want to boom, that's fine, but I would really like for you all to help me. Perch get rusty? Not exactly. Frontal assault. No, we're not doing an assault heist, goddammit. I've told you this. We're doing a sneaky heist. Break in, free the mage, chaos ensues, and yes. Yo, moth bathwater. Sky. Darkness, please no. Disguise and grappling hooks. Breaking in from the roof. Okay. Yes. So, I think it's time for us to do our favorite little ditty, which is a poll. So, what path will be built? We can, of course, do the disguised entry. We can look more into a prison break. Or finally, prison riot, break in from the roof, disguise and grappling hooks, darkness please no, break in, free the mage, chaos ensues. What about emergency exit? Okay. Or we can do a roof entrance. All right. I'm going to reduce this down to 1 minute. All right. Poll is up. Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, Junie's character is a bird, right? Does that mean she can fly? Yes, she can fly. She can fly at will, in fact. However, her armor does make it very difficult. Pied Piper all the rats in the city into the building and abuse the grappling rules? Fuck. Wait, if the party has the demolition expert blow up the wall as a distraction, we're going to have many new ways into the building. Y'all just love explosions. Hiding in plain view, not disguise, but like just not drawing attention. Great old social engineering. Hell yeah, just do some phishing attempts, you know? Just fucking, tailgate someone in. That'll work. No, just explode. I believe the highest charisma modifier in the party is a +2. So, we can definitely create a charisma route, but I might be a little hesitant to stake a lot in it. And it looks like we have ourselves the desire for a roof entrance. Then I believe that this should be the perfect time for us to plan a route involving our little friend Whiskey, a fella from far off Westways, who's a professional at cracking locks, safes, whatever you need. Just please keep me at a safe distance from anything, aye? All right, so I like it. We'll create kind of an idea for a roof entrance, either through a chimney or a skylight. Can Junie carry other members of the party? If she leaves behind all of her equipment, Junie can carry one person at a time, though she wouldn't be able to carry Perch. Just throw the dwarf over the fence. I like it. I'm decent at picking locks IRL. Lol. All right, Hellfrost. We'll go ahead and see if you can be our Whiskey then, mate. That should be a pretty little thing, I'd say. So, a roof entrance. +2 probably isn't going to cut it for a preferred method of scamming my way to places, yeah. So, let's think. There's a few elements I want for any route we create for the party. One, I want them to be interacting with 2 possible crew members. In this case, I like using Whiskey as a way to get through any locked doors or windows from the roof down to the vault. Second, once we figure out all the crew members I want that need to be directly involved in this route, is I want there to be some level of information gathering that is needed. Something they need to know before they can get up onto the roof. Not something as simple as we fly up, we teleport up, but something they need to know before they go there. Whether that's what chimney leads to where, or what is in the top floor. We need them to have to find out what's going on there. And finally, we need to think of a wrinkle. Every good heist has a bit of a wrinkle, a bit of a surprise to come in. With the tunnel, it's A, they're going to have to do a bit of digging through a public well, and B, it's not very stable soil, so there's a possibility of the tunnel collapsing if they overuse that system. A detect spell on the roof that needs to be dispelled. Oh, like an alarm spell is definitely something that could be great. How sober is whiskey most of the day? When he's on a job, he's only 1 or 2 glasses in. Oh, for most of the rest of the time, he tends to keep himself pretty well watered, I'd say. What if they literally just joined the army and climbed in the ranks so they could access everywhere and stole the gold? Unfortunately, there are plans to move the gold within about 3 to 4 days. So the party doesn't quite have the time to move up in the ranks. They need some kind of a layout, so they're liable to drop into a room full of guards. All right, with the roof entrance, there could be some sort of laser if you want to go Mission Impossible. All right, so the things I like so far. I definitely like a detection spell just basically across the roof. No one should be up there, so if we just have an alarm spell that goes off if anyone gets on the roof, unless they know about it, I think that's great. I think it's taking me 7 years to climb 4 ranks. They don't have that time. So, an alarm spell on the roof. Now, on the roof, there might be some chimney options. I like chimney a bit better than I like just like a window to break into. Not only that, but we can have either several chimneys or a complicated chimney system that is pulling smoke from several fireplaces on one side of the building. So they also need to know what the layout of the chimneys are to make sure they get into the right room. Finally, they need to know what rooms they're getting into and what room exactly the vault is. Since they're going in pure stealth from the roof, if they're spotted at all, they won't have disguises or anything else prepared and will be in trouble immediately. So they need to already know what room the vault is and how best to get there. I believe, then, the answer to our first question, who are the crew members involved, is very simple. We have whiskey, who's ready, of course, to be breaking through anything you need me to. But I don't know the layout of the place, and I'm not like to go climbing through chimneys just to end up in an open fireplace. So instead, the party will also need to make the effort to employ the corrupted man, the Wig. He's a tax collector, after all, and has been brought up to the 3rd floor several times when he has dropped off large payments. He's seen the vault. He knows exactly what room it is and the route everyone takes to get there. How many times he's been also means he knows the general guard layout on the 3rd floor and what rooms to be avoided. Though he'll have to be bribed, of course. Maybe threatened, though then his help will be a little limited. Still, the wrinkle is... Yeah, can't bribe the Wig? Maybe threaten him? Oh, they definitely can bribe him. He's a very corrupt individual. He's a tax collector and a judge. As you can imagine, he's not the most up and up sort of boy. Yep, smoke can blow up, which is what makes the chimney, I think, the perfect space for our wrinkle. So like a vertical chimney maze. Exactly. Plus, if you went through several chimneys, there's a timing deal with a smoke inhalation of routing through based on smoke density. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, so direct spell also needs to be dispelled carefully. Yes. But used to large sums of money, Double Party has a few extra Dogecoin laying around. Exactly. So maybe we need to figure out. Hi, Pedhead. How you doing? All right. I like this route so far. They need to get Wig on their side to know exactly what room they need to get into. They also need to record Whiskey in order to get through the 2 or 3 doors they need to, as well as to get into the vault without any issues. They need to, ahead of time, know about the alarms on the roof, and the wrinkle for them is the chimney system is basically a vertical maze in which they can't breathe and they can't see due to smoke. And they also run the risk of falling into a fire. So, the only thing I think we really need is to figure out why Whiskey, or not Whiskey, why the Wig can be bribed by the party. Obviously, they cannot provide him the amount of money that he's used to working with already. And it's not like he needs clemency. As an official judge, he has quite a bit of influence and power himself. He might handle it, but it's not like he gets to do much more than maybe skim some off the top if the government is paying any attention. Maybe a motive for Wig, like an item inside of the vault, or an item they have to get from a different room on the 3rd floor. Are you DMing? Yes, I am DMing, but I'm having chat help me build out a heist that I am making. How resistant is perch to fire? Not at all. Dirt on possible targets. Okay. Time limit in the maze then, 100%, since you can't properly breathe there. Unless you use an air spell, but if they do, then that'll push the smoke back out of the fireplaces, which could start another investigation. Maybe he has a soft spot for something or someone. Okay. So, 2 good options. He wants something specific, but it needs to come out of a different room on the 3rd floor, meaning the party needs to make a detour before they can get to the vault, or they need to split up. The second one is he wants someone out of the Contabat cells, which means he needs them to go to the 2nd floor to release someone from that prison. On the 2nd floor, so they have to spend more time than these things. Exactly, Narc. Exactly. He needs dirt on another government official. We can definitely make the dirt be that special item he needs on the 3rd floor. He's a frequent customer at Sweet's place. Or what we can do for the Wig is make him need both. He needs a person released from the prison, but he also needs a record kept on the 3rd floor to prove their innocence. Or that'll allow him to frame someone else. Who does the Wig care about enough to risk his position as a judge and tax collector to help the party, to free them, and to put their guilt onto someone else? If Birch has 0 fire resistance, then he'd have to be made out of gallium or something. Well, it's funny to imagine melting because someone tried to shake his hand. Maybe Insane Mage. Maybe it could be a connection to the Insane Mage. They could nuke money. Wife, partner. Yes, those could work. Maybe a child. Interesting. Can't Warforged be made of some kind of wood? Well, he is made of metal. It's just Warforged don't come inherently resistant to fire. So I'm not just going to grant him fire resistance, you know? So he is damaged by fire, just like a living person would be. Okay. So we're thinking someone close to him. Either a wife or child of some kind. I like the idea of child. You know, I'm really seeing, it's a bit of a cliche, I admit, but the corrupt official hiding something about a family member. Perhaps he has a young daughter who is magically inclined. We don't ever meet his wife, and that could be helpful in concealing why his daughter has a sorcery bloodline. Up in position. Maybe some beef with a prisoner is having an affair with one of the Sweets. Oh, maybe that. Honestly, no clue springs, but not too familiar with D&D rules, honestly. Just, oh no, that's fair, sour cake. So what do you guys think? The Whig has a daughter, that he had to keep her magic abilities a secret. However, that can only be kept a secret for so long, especially with the Contabats moving about everywhere in the city. And they had found her. Now, normally this wouldn't be an issue, but a magical child so closely connected to a major judge and tax collector means that she had to be brought in for questioning. Now, normally she would be released immediately, but the Whig's daughter was never released from Contabat Hold, and he doesn't know why. So he needs two things. He needs his daughter freed, and he needs them to get the records from the Contabat interrogation of his daughter, that he knows the record room, but not where exactly that record is kept, so that he can know exactly what happened. Why is his daughter being held when magic isn't illegal, and he is a state official? Now then, everybody, that leads us with the last question then. Why is the Whig's daughter being held? Remember, magic isn't illegal. His daughter was questioned because she has magical abilities, but that's not a reason she's being held. I think it would be too obvious that he supported the heist then. I feel like we have a lot of potential goals stacked up in the prisoners. What's the truth behind the missing magic users then? If Sweet is also missing people. The Contabat are a bit overzealous in their position. They like to take people and interrogate them. And then anyone they suspect at all of being a spy, supporting rebellion, or being a potential threat to Athrone, they imprison. So, maybe a specific magic ability. She accidentally killed someone. She secretly does dark sorcery powers, questionable or illegal magical practices, like maybe necromancy. Instead of necromancy, I have one that someone concerned with spies would be more interested in. The Whig's daughter is showing a strong proficiency for clairvoyancy. Oh god, what is that? No, I'm forgetting the name of the school of magic. Oh no. No, she's not a MacGuffin. She's just a potential threat because she is very skilled at the group of magic. Also, yeah, although I was thinking daughter, I definitely instinct a bit younger. But, no, one second. Divination, there it is, divination. So she's a guffin. How old is the daughter? Could be as old as we want, actually. Maybe the daughter used some kind of auto-hypnosis that looks like she's being brainwashed. Divination? Exactly, divination. The daughter is showing a proficiency for divination and may have accidentally seen something she shouldn't have seen. Something that has left the Contabat to imprison her. Another option is we can definitely make sure the daughter is of an adult age and has actually decided she sides with Teverfia against Athrone. Some greater perks the guards need. Daughter could be 16. Yeah. Definitely 16 or at a rebellious age. So let's think. In fact, let's come to a decision. Why is the daughter being held? She saw something. The Contabats cannot allow. She saw something that the Contabat guard could not allow her to see. She supports rebellion. Whether directly or indirectly is definitely open for interpretation. And then finally, and probably a bit more sinister one, Captain. Okay, there we go. We'll simply put it as unrequited love. The captain of the Kuntabats is very interested in this official's daughter, but she's not so interested in him. And so a bit of a vindictive streak has come out in this particular imprisonment. Could be that as part of the 9F anti-magic cult. Younger for more sympathy points or older for more developed character. Yes, that's definitely a division. And I think depending on which one we come into, I think if we lean down the side that she simply saw something, I'll probably skew a little bit younger. If it's on the rebellious side, I'll definitely skew her a bit older. If it's in the unrequited love, we have a minimum age, guys. Just so you know, if we choose unrequited love, there will be a minimum age set for this. While I'm willing to make the Kuntabat captain a little sketchy, he's not going all the way there. So just so everyone knows, if you're interested in voting for one or the other, we're going to make sure she's of a more appropriate age depending on which one she goes into. Exactly how frostings. We're going to make sure we're safe depending on. However, it seems people are interested in that she saw something through divination that the Kuntabats could not allow. Very well. Very well. Least legal age for the gun. We're going a little over than saying medieval legal age. So, but that's fine, because it seems we're leaning more in the she saw something direction. What if we make the Kuntabat captain could make the party want to kill him, adding another objective. True, but that's a bit too creepy from my end, if that's fair enough to say. Personally, I vote younger. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to be skewing younger now that we know it's more of an accidental reason, and let's increase that sympathy over development, eh? So, we have a route. The party will have to go through the maze system known as the chimneys into the building. There is an alarm on the roof they'll have to learn about and disable, though luckily, now that they've agreed to help the Whig break out his daughter and find the records of what she did. Bro, what? That's an element. Did I miss some? Silicon! Oh my god, how did I miss? I'm not good at reading, you guys. Where she both saw something and the captain is unrequited. That's why she's not killed outright. Fair enough. I definitely won't throw away those options, though I think I'll keep that as the chief reason, since that was what was voted for, but I can definitely put that in. Now that the party has agreed to help the Whig by freeing his daughter and finding the record on why she was held, they will learn that she saw something. Whiskey will of course agree to help in exchange for a cut of the profits, and it'll be necessary for them to get through a few certain doorways and the vault itself. So instead of going under and needing a full history of the estate's development, they can go over and get their hands on the information of how this estate is currently set up. Hey, don't shake your head at me, Sour Cake. This also opens up the possibility of learning which she could be potentially important for the war effort, but not game-changing because it's optional. 100% spring. I really liked this. Brilliant. It is a brilliant plan, everybody. And I'm glad that we have created our second route to the vault. I hope the party doesn't betray Whiskey. Oh, you like Whiskey? Well, thank you, Blenty boy. I'll have you know I like you a bit too. You seem a right sort of fella. If you're in need of a hand getting into anywhere, Whiskey will be there to help. Don't you worry none. However, as you all can see, we've now arrived at the end of today's little building session. Don't worry, we still have a couple of minutes before everyone has to clear off, but I just have a few questions. What did everybody think of this style of encounter building? I know we didn't do a lot of like balancing of combat and the like, which I've done before. This was a lot more of like a really open concept, building out kind of how a layout is going to work, what type of routes we want to use, choosing some type of characters the party can encounter. And it was super fun, but there wasn't as much on screen stuff as I would have liked. So I'm wondering, how'd you guys feel about this sort of method? And is this something you wanna see in the future? Let's see. I think I saw something. It could be the Contavan abusing Sweet's girls, that they're cult for anti-magic. I can't tell time. You should continue. That is fair, Seth, but I cannot. I enjoyed this. This was a banger. What if they took the daughter into their party? I think she'd help great in the future as an NPC to the party. Great, could be more explosions, but that's left to be desired. Had a lot of fun despite not knowing shit about Fifth Edition. And I hope you didn't feel like you needed to know a lot about Fifth Edition. Oh shit! Did we get a kick? I think we got a kick. Yeet! Oh god! Wood Bogus! Wood Bogus, no! Okay, we got a lot of kicks to go through while that's happening. I like it. It was fun. I've never played D&D. That was fun. This was awesome session. It was really interesting. Not super familiar with 5e, so it was a lot more accessible to me. Hell yeah. Erica's having his ass kicked. Bro is just kicking everything. God damn, y'all. Why do you just want to keep kicking me? Alright. Help me keep track here. Yeet. There he goes. I think we just need two more. What? Wait. One thing I want to change before the last one. We're gonna see in what country I end up. Okay? Where do I go? Oh shit! I went to what is that? Romania? Yeah, ramen in Romania. Hell yeah. I like ramen and romaine. That's a fun. Oh, and we have another routine. I'll get to you in just a second. No, the danger points, poor tardigrade. All I'm imagining is that scene from JoJo Part 5. I wasted all my points. Worth it. Hell yeah, guys. However, it seems we have a redeem from Sobin Danny 96. Soby Danny. Ara. Ara. Tempting, but I'll save for a tardy change in another stream. Alright, guys. So, I do have one last poll I want to do before we head off, and that is, what is our next stream? Now, this is specifically Dungeons and Dragons stream, so Friday I'll be probably doing Monster Hunter like I normally do, but we have a few options. We can continue the heist. We can go back to doing some story time, hearing what the party is doing, because there's so much that has happened that I haven't been able to get to quite yet. We can go into nation lore. And I think for now, those are the votes I'm going to leave up. So let's get this poll going. And let me know, what shall the next Dungeons and Dragons stream be? Thank you. We haven't had one this stream. Oh yeah, the most important redeem. I agree. No, we hadn't, Spring. That was the first one for this stream. But we have 2 minutes on the board for people to decide what we're doing next. While I know the desire to finish building the heist, there will be more time in the future. Yes. We should definitely, I would like to switch around, but I also know if people are really hyped about this, I really want you guys to have a say in what we do next. So, I'll be going in myself and dropping my own vote on what I want to see. But make sure you all vote for what you really want to do next time. Whether it's continue building the heist, go into some story time about the party, or learn about the lore of another nation. We still have 70 of them to go through. We shall see. I'm excited, but I want to see stories first. A palate cleanser story time is welcome. Well, I think I see where people are leaning, but we will wait till the poll is over. I'm a lore nut, but 2-3 hours be a bit much for me. It's you wound me. I could talk about my lore for 5 hours, 6 hours. I've spent all my time creating this lore, and people are afraid of it. Oh, why? I'd love nation lore, but I don't want to get too behind in the story. Oh yeah, and that's fair. And honestly, with most nation lore, I'll probably end up doing a half and half between it and story time. But I do want to make sure you guys get out your preference. So in fact, story time wins. But there are 4 votes for nation lore, so I'm going to back it up with one more poll. Don't worry, we'll get things a bit more specific. So, next stream is what? Will it be a full story time? Or half lore? Or half heist? We'll get this last poll out, and then that'll be it for the evening. Eric, I just need to know, if we don't have any other heist streams, please add a drug trap or scenario for me. How about a drug encounter when they're trying to get Sweets on their side? A room filled with a noxious smoke that Sweets likes to conduct business in. That, as the party are leaving, there's a bit of an after effect on them. Especially if the conversation did not go well. Eric, why not just do a 24-hour lore stream? Because I do not hate my vocal cords. Yes, drugs, I agree. Never thought I would take notes during a Twitch stream, but here we are. Oh, yes. And don't forget to get your notes and get your homework done, guys. We're going to need 3 more routes, 5 more characters, and we have to build the last 2 floors next stream. So make sure we're all prepared so we can knock it out nice and quick. Let's see here. Oh shit, did the last poll never go through? Oh darn, did I fuck up? Mr. Eric is gonna be on the test. Don't worry, there won't be a test. Not for you guys, at least, just for my party. Alright, I think either I missed the poll or the poll did not go through. So we're just gonna say, we're gonna try to do this again. Next stream, is it gonna be full story, half lore, or half heist? And we're going to bring this down to 1 minute. Heist. A poll is already active. So it says a poll is active, but I'm not seeing a countdown. Hey, yo, guys, is the poll bugged? Because the poll might be bugged. I'm afraid it did not go through. Is there a VOD channel? There is an archive only for my D&D streams, however. So if you want it, there you go. Mr. Professor Eric, can I see you after class for some more studying? Oh, sour cake, yes. I'll need to have you stay after class for a private one-on-one session with me. Alright, yeah, it looks like the poll broke. I'll try throwing up the poll then one more time, but if it doesn't work, we'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. So 1 second. So full story. Half lore. Or half heist. Now this might still be broken. If so, I'll just kind of get a general sense from you guys what you want to do. Let's see. Poll is bugged. Okay, new poll is up, guys. We only got 1 minute on it. Next stream, we're definitely doing a story time. But do you want a full story time, or do you want half of the time to be dedicated to something else? So you better get in and get it going right now, because we only have 1 minute on this poll. Let's go. Let's go. Looks like it's working now. Hell yeah. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Hey guys, it's full story, not full sautery. So, apologies for that. Because we have a half floor. Well, let's see. We still got a bit of time if anyone hasn't voted yet. So get it in. Get it in. I'd like 1 minute on your poll. Oh, Frost. How could you say something like that in class? I'm going to need you to stay after to face a bit of detention time with me. We can't have you being so inappropriate. And it looks like next stream we're going to be doing a half lore, half story time card. So, I hope to see you all then. And so, just as a quick note, good night, everybody. I see you, Crazy Seth. And I hope to see you all next weekend as we learn about the party and about some new nations. Good night.